Hello, everybody. It's John Browning back with the Building Your Life podcast. And we have a special guest today here with us. And we were just talking about the fact that we are caffeinated and hydrated and ready to go, even though it's a little bit early in the morning this morning to be recording, but we're excited to do it. Rudy and I have known each other now for what, 2 years ish, maybe three?
Yeah, going 2 to 3, I think is what we're coming up on now. It feels like it was yesterday. I mean, it feels like COVID was yesterday, but it feels like we just met yesterday. It's how quickly things I feel like move around here.
Yeah, yeah. And I happen to use Rudy's services, and it's one of those things that none of us really enjoy, like talking about or doing or anything else. But Rudy is the quintessential expert at it. And Rudy, without me trying to introduce you, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Tell us what you do, and more importantly than that, why you do it.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. I'm really excited to be on here today. I work in the insurance field, so I do property and casualty insurance as well as some light health and life. So I'm in an industry that everybody needs, but nobody wants to deal with. I tell everybody I got into the industry by happenstance. I didn't do it because I wanted to. I didn't do it because I was excited for it. Insurance is not the most exciting thing. Most people don't love sitting in front of a desk all day, working on computers. It's not a norm for most. Most people want to be out and about, having fun, doing really exciting things. But I just said I had a concern with a fraternal organization I was a part of where insurance was so expensive. And I said to myself, this is a nonprofit. This is a fraternal organization where people come together to grow and be better themselves, and their insurance premiums were raising. And I said to myself, with at the time was a partner, I said, hey, what can we do about this? And he said, hey, I have a solution. Let's open up a company and let's get this thing started. And from there, it just exploded. I took my license. I got my license within 30 days of taking my quote unquote schooling. And I jumped right into it. And we have just been on the upward trend trying to help people be successful, whether staying in their home, keeping their businesses open, or just trying to reduce costs and keep themselves safe from liability. We live in a very litigious society, especially Florida is a very litigious state with some of the bigger players of the world here. I won't name Eminem or any of those people that are out there in the world, but they're big players down here in the world. And insurance is an important thing. And I tell everybody, I know nobody likes it. Nobody's like salespeople. Nobody likes that feeling of, hey, I'm forced to do something. But insurance is one of those things, John, that people forget the importance of it until it happens because we become complacent or we're not nervous that concerns will come up. And then it's always when it actually happens, right? Where people are starting to look for us and say, hey, what can we do now? And by the time we get to that point, typically it may be too late, not always, but that's what it made me jump into it. And I have been doing this now for a couple of years, and I've enjoyed it. I've had a lot of fun, but I will say that I learned something new every day because this wasn't my original called trade of work that I worked in. So it was definitely a passion of mine, and the passion has definitely taken over the last couple of years. So it's exciting to be on here and tell a little bit about it, and help educate viewers and people watching this because there's a lot more information out there people may not understand about insurance and kind of how it affects them in the totality of their life.
Yeah, I think when I look at insurance, it just drives me insane. I mean, you and I have had a lot of
Drives me
conversations,
insane.
and like you said, it's not something a lot of people like to think about and do, run figures and risk parameters and statistics and everything like that all day long. But the reality is that I have had, I've had people run into me. There's been legitimate accidents. And frankly, I had one situation that clearly was not a legitimate accident, but still, if I wouldn't have had insurance or the right kind of insurance, that's the key thing, right? It's not just having the state minimums or whatever, it's the right kind of insurance, not over insuring, but also very importantly, not under insuring, then I would have been in real trouble. And I think we all kind of fall into that, like you were saying. Oh, it'll never happen to me. I deal with this because on the life insurance side, I'm going to live forever thing, or long term care insurance is another big one. Well, I'm pretty healthy now, or if I get sick, or I don't want to, I'm just going to jump in an ice lake, or I'm just going to,
Rub honey on it or something. Yeah,
rub honey
yeah.
on it, or just, I'm just going to, I'll end everything. I'll jump off a cliff or something like that. The reality is, like for long-term care insurance, for instance, is your loved ones love you. They want you there, whether you're not doing well or not. You still have significant value. And the reality is, if you don't have something in place, doesn't have to be long-term care insurance. It could be another form of insurance that might be more appealing to you or less expensive for you, but something. The same thing goes with property and casualty, right? So many people try and self-insure, but they don't really self-insure, right? They just think they are.
Yeah, and they never say, and then they never save the money. I love the old adage is, hey, I'm not going to get. We live in the state of Florida here, and I'm not going to get hurricane insurance, wind insurance. I'll just save the money every year, and if something happens, I'll just pay for my roof that way. And it's a great thought process, but how many people are physically taking money out of their account, putting it under their mattress, right? It's just not happening, right? We all know it's not happening. We understand it's not happening, and that's okay. There's no judgment. But at the end of the day, there are basic things that you should do, like you said, life insurance, long-term care insurance, riders. There's keyman insurance for people like us who are in positions where, God forbid, something was to happen, where that your spouse, significant other, your partner can be successful, and you don't have to worry about as much, right? Because obviously a death is terrible, but there are things that can help you be successful, and I think that's the one thing people don't understand. It's not about you get a call from somebody cold calling. It's not because they just want to make commission on that. 9 times out of 10, sure, there aren't great agencies out there, great agents, but there are good people. You just have to learn how to find them. And that's the hardest thing. Anything doesn't matter. Even when I was in the construction world, project managers always make the job. It doesn't matter the builder you're necessarily with. They all use the same building blocks, block, wood, roofing materials, right? They all necessarily use the same contractors, even the same vicinity, because most of the contractors do specific things. But the difference is the person you're doing it with. Somebody like yourself, somebody like me, who is going to go above and beyond to try and be that rock and that person. Because we are living in a society today where corporations, VCs, PEs are buying up financial institutions and insurance agencies and offering I mean, money that I have never seen before for books of business just to be able to have dominion over them. And society is changing as it always does, and as it needs to. But it makes me and I know people that I've spoken to nervous that we are moving to a much more robotic AI numbered society. We're all just a number. And I think, and I can speak, because I've worked with John before, like you're not a number when you work with John. You're not a number when you work with me. You're a person. You have our numbers. You have our cell phones. You can be contacted. And that's huge in today's, we'll call it new digital world of Teams, Zoom, and everyone just clicking the yes button to just move on to the next fastest thing.
Yeah, I talk to us a little bit about maybe tell us a story or some examples of maybe, and this is not to scare people, but this is real life. Like, give us a real life example of maybe somebody who thought that they were self-insured or thought that they had enough insurance and then found out the hard way, maybe not so much.
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's a great cautionary tale. And I tell everybody this isn't about scaring anybody because there's nothing scarier than having to face, the we'll call the judge, right? Above, below, doesn't matter where you're going, right? Whether you have to go to courtroom or it's something even worse. At the end of the day, you want the protection, and I've had this. I mean, I can't tell you. We go to this group called NLX together, and I've come in and I've explained multiple times to people about underinsured. And just recently, I had somebody yet again underinsured and wrong class code where their agent is looking at their business one specific way. Maybe it wasn't communicated correctly. I don't know exactly what transpired. And truthfully, it doesn't matter. What matters is that's corrected because action's what matters. And they were essentially reporting 1/10 of their revenue numbers, which is a big no-no in the insurance world. You want to make sure, especially for audit times, that you're correctly providing information. Now, it may have been the agent didn't provide the correct lingo. Maybe they didn't ask specifically, or maybe they didn't have that conversation. And unfortunately, there was a legal concern that had came up with a slip and fall, which it always sounds to be so funny, but slip and falls, personal injury cases are a real thing, guys. That is a serious problem. Again, that's litigious society we live in. And they went to go and pay out the claim, and they did, and everyone got the money they needed to. But then they were audited, and they said, "Hey, send us our profit and loss statement for the year." And instead of saying, "Hey, we made 1.5 million," hey, we actually made 10 million.
Wow.
And that was a big problem. Not only did they go after this insured, right? Because they came to me after it was all said and done. They essentially sued the insured for the claim that they paid out to the person who slipped and fall. So this is what ends up happening is these insurance companies will go out there, they will pay your claims, they will try and do everything above board. And again, I'm not saying insurance companies are looking to get anybody. It's not an I got you moment, but they do sometimes give the sniff test when they see you online driving with your Lamborghini or you're going on a boat or something like that, and you're posting about how successful you are, which is a blessing, and I hope for everybody's success. But again, humility in this owner's situation could have went a long way. Their premium essentially quadrupled, and they had to pay out that claim back to the carrier and or pay out their premium amount because it was almost the same amount of money. At the end of the day, they had to pay. They ended up getting, we'll call it caught, and it happens. And thankfully they did get paid out because again, many of the insurance carriers will pay out, and then they'll check your work because they want to make sure that what you're saying you're doing, you're really doing. And that's where I tell everybody the proof is in the pudding and the devil's in the detail. You want to make sure you're working with somebody who's giving you information like this because you just never know when somebody is going to decide to unfortunately levy a claim against you or make a statement that's false or not false, doesn't matter, and you're going to have to use your policy. And you shouldn't go to it just because, right? We don't just hey, I scratched my tire, hey, I bumped my toe on the door and I'm making an insurance claim now. It's up to every insured out there who makes that decision. But when you truly have an incident that occurs that you have the right team standing behind you who can at least talk you through it, and the feeling that it was taken care of correctly, because the only person's problem was the insurer at the end of the day. The insurance agent, the past agent, said, "Hey, I asked the right questions. It is what it is," and they were stuck with the boat, right? So I'd say cautionary tale, and I can tell you so many of these, but I think that really hits the nail on the head of how important the devil in the details is.
Yeah, I've heard some horror stories myself too about like I had insurance on my house, say, but I didn't have the specific type of rider. And
Mm,
this is where I think insurance companies get a little bit of a bad reputation, right? Because they'll sell you insurance, right? We'll provide insurance and we'll provide it really cheap if you want it really cheap, but you're not going to have the flood rider, the wind rider, the hail rider, all these different riders, which is, I can't keep track of. This is like, thank goodness for people like you that keep track of all this stuff.
mm.
So some people, I think, and even I think maybe some insurance agents, just to get the sale done, will say, "Oh, we can do it cheaper and give you a cheaper price," but really you're not insured for what you thought you were, and then it becomes a problem. And that's
And
I
that's
like
even
these
worse
talk a
because you think you're
little bit
covered.
about that. You think you are, and then you're not, right?
Yeah, and that's quite literally. So I had somebody yesterday on Facebook, and this is why I love Facebook, for doing our business. Is hey, somebody reached out saying they needed help. They were a welding and fabricator. Very very nice husband and wife team. This is his side hustle. He has a main position or main job. His insurance was dropped on 12/29 of 25. They dropped him. His agent didn't go out there, didn't look for any solutions. They had a very specific case where they hire handymen sometimes. We'll call it laborers in some way. Now they pay them 1099, so they're all above board. But unfortunately, in many of your policies, I'd say 9 out of 10 of them, if not almost 9.9 out of 10, say the insured has to have their general liability policy. So they have to have like insurance as you. You can't just say, hey, I'm hiring somebody who's uninsured and I'm going to pay them cash, right? That's how we all get in trouble with the big government agencies that have three letters, right? So this
Correct.
person, their agent, just said, "Hey, I'll get to it." It was yesterday. It was on February 17th. That means this person has been uninsured since last year at the end of the year. Within 24 hours, we find them a solution that they can do that. Now, there are some stipulations. So it's not like you could just go out there and hire people without insurance. They do have to follow those rules, but there are special cases where the carrier will take that into account, provide an endorsement, and then if something transpires with that specific person and an incident occurs, they'll lower the limit. So instead of being covered for 1 million, maybe they'll say they'll cover you for 500,000. But that's what matters is having an agent who can have those conversations, understands the concern, and goes out there. Nevertheless, they pay the same amount of money as they did for my policy, as they did for the person that dropped them back in December. So there's always a solution 9 times out of 10. The problem is does the agent care enough to be able to go through with it and figure out the solution for you? Or does the company owner care enough? And unfortunately, people are moving at 100 miles an hour, and the little guy sometimes does get left behind. And that's what happened in this case. And it hurts my heart when I see that because it's not the way it should be. I hope that guy becomes a $2-3 million revenue business in the next 2 to 3 years, and then could say, "Hey, nani nani poo poo, I got you." You know that's what I'd love to see because the little man make it right because that's the American dream, and they definitely from the Latin America, they are definitely living that American dream, and that's what we should all help push up and see that success because whether they're making $10,000 a year, or 100,000, or 100 million, they're trying to better their life, their community, and see us all be successful.
Yeah. That's the whole reason, or a big part of the reason that I retired right from Wall Street is, Wall Street caters to, and most financial advisors cater to huge, very, very large assets. I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to take what I learned managing, billions on Wall Street and bring it to people who, like I call them, like real people like me,
Yeah.
that really need to and should be using those advanced techniques, and they're told that they can't because they're too small. The reality is it absolutely can be applied to them. And so you and I are kind of in that same boat where
Yeah.
it might not be as lucrative, but it's a whole lot more fun. And you get to be able to go to bed and feel like you did something great for somebody. And yeah, I love the small business owners, the mid-sized business owners, especially those blue collar workers that have just put in the time, put in the work. They're using their expertise for something great in the world. And wherever, if they were born in America or they weren't and they came to America to start a better life, I want to serve those people. It's a lot of fun for me. It sounds like for
Agreed.
you as well. But making sure they're protected is key because you never think about this stuff until you need it, right?
No, and that's again, it comes down to you never know till you don't know. And don't be afraid to have the conversations with people. I see it all the time where people are very nervous to, provide the truth, right? They don't want to sit down and tell because maybe they're ashamed or maybe they're too humble to say, hey, we're doing good and we don't want to, talk about the success we're having. Both are legitimate concerns in their own right, but they aren't things to hide from. Whether or not you want to be successful is totally up to you. And I'm sure you see it in your world. Some people feel like, hey, you know what, I'm making too much money and I don't want people to know about this because I'm afraid because of this or because of that. Like those are blessings. Enjoy those blessings because those are opportunities that other people don't have. And to protect that is part of it. It's okay. It's okay to make money. It's okay to be successful. It's okay to want to protect yourself, your family, and the people around you. There's nothing wrong with that. It's about how you do it and how you stay humble. That's the differentiator that most people forget to understand.
Yeah. Yeah. And Rudy, you've covered not just Florida, right? You cover some other states as well, right?
Oh, most definitely. So we do a lot of commercial work outside the state of Florida. Not as much personal lines, just because the markets are finicky. Where I could have an appointment, as they call it here, with a carrier in Florida, they may not transfer to Wisconsin or New Jersey or Texas. But like Texas, the Carolinas, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Connecticut, Delaware, Wisconsin, Michigan, some of the places that we hold licenses at, we can help on the commercial insurance side. We can be competitive. We do have the carrier groups. We do have the brokerages, the MGAs. the different opportunities and levers to pull to be able to help people. Because we are, again, in a society where things are getting cheaper, insurance. I know that sounds like a crazy thought process, but the prices are going down. We are seeing relief. The question is, are you having that conversation with your agent, with that person to know that these things are happening? And are they contacting you? Because I'll be honest, my entire life using brokers, maybe one or two times I ever contacted about trying to help me save a couple dollars from my broker. And in my mind, now that I look back at and see hindsight 2020, what a missed opportunity by that person, right? Not to just sell something, but to just make sure that things are being taken care of and building that relationship.
I can tell you one other thing too, with Rudy, is that when I have a question, I send him a text, I give him a call, because this is not my zone of genius, and we talk about that a lot on here on the show. Is stick with your zone of genius, be amazing at what you do, and be maybe it's a little bit of humility, maybe it's just being smart. Uh, Let other people do what they do best. And, I just don't know what I don't know. And Rudy's always there. And what's the name of your company again, Rudy?
The Bedford Group Insurance.
Bedford Group. And if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, and I'll have it down in the show notes here,
Yeah.
how would they contact you?
Sure. So there's a few different options. First, you can always call our number. That's 561-621-8244. You can email us at info@bedfordinsure.com, not insurance, insure. Some people do get that mixed up. And then I always tell people, I have a work number and a personal number. I carry them with me all the time. If you ever need to get in contact with me directly, 703-307-6261. And yes, it is not a number from Florida. I did not just transplant here yesterday. I've been here for a while, but it is another from up north. So, because I am from up north, as most Floridians are now.
Right. Yeah. I've got the same thing. I have a Chicago number because we are actually our main office is there, but really we spend all our time here in Florida and West Palm Beach. And folks know how to get in touch with me at guardianrockwealth.com. And those of you who are regular listeners, you know that down in the show notes, you're going to have a way to contact Rudy. And I will tell you this, that of all, and I've had several folks that I've worked with. Number one, when you go online, yeah, maybe Rudy, you should talk to this too, is when you go
Yeah.
online and you can get quotes and everything else, but I can't tell you how many times that um, how many stories I have about people who have gone online for their insurance and been like, oh, that looks cheaper. Oh, that looks good, but just don't know what they don't know and get insurance that does not properly cover them.
Mhm.
Feel very confident and feel very great about it. But going through somebody whose zone of expertise, zone of genius is in protecting you can save you so much money in the long term. It's just not even almost not fathomable how important that is to talk with somebody in your zone of genius. Rudy, talk about that a little bit too. I
Yeah.
get it that it's easy and you go do it and it seems cheaper often, but talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, there's definitely two huge things you brought up there. First is the online ads about getting $20 car insurance. I cannot tell you how much they annoy me and the entire insurance agency world. They are not real. Again, I don't know every single one of them, so I can't speak to everyone. But I, again, will just use the 9 out of 10 times, 9 out of 10 dentists, right? Uh, they're not real. You can't get, I don't have $20 insurance. If I can't get it, I can assure you no one else is getting it. It's not a real thing. They do per mileage. Some of these newer companies will do a mileage count. So if you don't drive a lot, you have a base price plus your mileage. And yes, it may be a couple dollars cheaper if you don't drive. Elderly, maybe 80 years old plus. That may be a great option if you're living in a community. Maybe you're in the Keys and you don't travel a lot. Sure, very very specific circumstances. Most of the time, that's not true. And the other big thing is the cost of having a broker or an agent work with you. There is no necessary direct cost. Everything's paid from the carrier. So when you work with a brokerage, when you work with somebody like Bedford Group, There is no cost out of pocket to you. Yes, there are commissions because we do have to sell policies. So again, we are very much transparent about that. We don't get paid $3 million when we sell an insurance policy or car or something. It's a very modest commission that is paid for doing the right thing. But more importantly, it's doing the right thing. It's not providing you with one quote, it's providing you with a group of quotes. It's providing you with options and saying, hey, here's what we recommend. Now, recommendations are just that, recommendations. You don't have to follow them, but you'll have somebody who can actually provide you with the information, a human being. That's the biggest thing, not an AI telling you what to do. Now, do we use AI? Yes, we have an AI voice assistant, but that is not the person you're speaking to have these conversations with. That is just getting you to the right person. Because again, we believe in that human touch because it is so important to be able to have that. We've missed that for years, and I think it's something that society as a whole will do better with when we all get together and do this and have these conversations. And that goes for insurance or any other. And I'm sure for your markets as well. You know, that's one of the things I think that's a differentiator with you is you're constantly online. You're constantly presenting yourself. You're out there with humility in mind, heart in hand, and you're giving people real information. Those are the people you want, listeners, ladies, gentlemen, everybody. That's the type of people you want around you. You want people who are out there, not afraid to have conversations, who are picking up the phone, willing to do things like this and podcasts. That means they are out there, providing you with the real them, and not as some persona of. And yes, I do like flowery things sometimes, so I do dress a little Palm Beachy, but a flowery persona that is providing you with some fake details of their life. That is not what you want. You don't want some Instagram famous person. You want somebody who is really there and really is going to do the job for you. And I can't say anything else. I know any person I've sent to John so far has had an outstanding experience. They've really come away with knowledge and learning something more than just, hey, I'm here to manage your money. I'm here to help you be successful. Success, right? That's what we're all trying to obtain. Find the right mind melt around you to have that group of people who can help you be successful. And, with people like him, people like myself, you can have that. And you can have somebody who's got your back and wants to be a team player. And I love that word team because it's what I use in most of my emails when I message people. I say, hey, team. It doesn't matter if you're the insured, whether you're a carrier, it doesn't matter if you're an employee of Bedford. We're all a team. We're all working together because we all have a common goal, and that's for your success.
Yeah, and I think like I'll give a real quick story too. My own daughter actually, she went out to get car insurance for her first time. She went online to do it because she wanted to get the cheapest thing possible because she doesn't make a lot of money, and she got car insurance for a young person, 19 years old, at 150 bucks a month, I think, or something like that. And I was like, oh. So that's pretty cheap. That seems pretty good. Well, 3 months later, and each month it went up. She said, I don't understand this, Dad. How can it go up when they quoted me this? I'm like, oh, it sounds like a online insurance company. Sure enough, by the end of the third month, she was paying over $300 per month. And she's like, I don't know what to do. And I said, well, you need to call Rudy. I don't know if she ever called you, by the way, but um, she's finding out that what you maybe got online when you first signed up is not the actual price either. That's another thing that also happens with that. So just be aware of that. I know there are people out there that say you shouldn't use a broker because it adds to your cost. As Rudy said, that absolutely is simply not true. The insurance companies take care of the broker. The broker's job is to serve you. So I wanted to leave people with that. Rudy, the reason that I had you on today, I thought it was so important to address this is because we often talk about building your life by building wealth and accumulating what you want as the tool to build your best life. And one of the things I think that often gets forgotten with wealth management is protecting yourself, which can be, if not just as important, maybe even more important than actually building it because you can build and build and build and it can be torn down with one lawsuit. One time when you are not insured can be 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, hundreds of thousands, depending on what it is. And we tend just to think it'll never happen to us. But the reality is, every day it is happening to many, many people. So I'm really appreciative that you came on the call, gave us a little bit of your time, which I know is precious for you as a dad, a business owner of multiple businesses and everything that you do. So I really appreciate you coming on the show.
No, I appreciate you having me on here, and I'll leave this tidbit for everybody. Mark Cuban had said once that it's easy to make the first million. It's even harder to make the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth. All these things get harder, but it's the protection, because at the end of the day, making the money isn't hard, right? You can probably go out there and make somebody a bunch of money. Like you said, it's keeping it. It's keeping it in your pocket. It's paying the right taxes. It's doing the right things to make sure you don't lose it and you don't end up 7 or 8 generations like some of the larger families in this country that have had the Rockefellers and all those gentlemen, and lose it over time. It does happen. And generational wealth, just like our freedoms, is only one generation away of being lost, whether it be wealth or freedom. So keeping that in mind, heeding John's word, that's what we should all do.
Yeah. Well, again, really appreciate the time, Rudy, and I'm sure we will be. Actually, I know we will be talking here in the next week or so about some other stuff. So, everybody, remember you can get in touch with me. I can always get in touch with Rudy. There are ways to get in contact with Rudy and myself down the show notes. And again, you guys know guardianrockwealth.com if you're a regular listener. If you're new, there's all kinds of episodes out there. Do a search for the question that you have. We've probably done a podcast on it. We've been doing this for well over 5 years. So, and Rudy, you also have your own podcast as well, right? So, what's the name of your podcast?
Yes, we do. It's called From Ladder to Legacy. So again, very, very similar to what John's doing. Again, we're talking about business owners being successful in the trials and tribulations, and how business ownership isn't always easy, but the path that's easy isn't always the one you want to take.
Oh, I like that. All right, that's a great thing to end on. So, thanks a lot, Rudy, and we will see everybody again next time on the Building Your Life podcast.
Thanks, John.